All right, welcome back everyone to the 400k Investment Project. If you're new here, the purpose of this channel is to give you insight into how I go about managing my own money as a private investor. And importantly, how I analyze stocks and make portfolio decisions accordingly. The reason I started this channel a few months ago was because I wanted to show people that active management, not day trading, but active management can yield fantastic results. But it takes a lot of work. So here today, I'm going to show you some of that work, and I'm going to show you why I think Tesla is unbelievably mispriced. So stay tuned. This is worth it, trust me. So I've seen a lot of Tesla models floating around, but I've just felt like nothing really brought it all together for me. Nothing clearly showed all the pieces of Tesla, all those little startups within Tesla, and all the value creation that's going on behind the scenes. And certainly we're not seeing that with Wall Street analysts. I mean, we literally have an analyst that has like a $75 or $80 price target on Tesla. That makes absolutely no sense. Like none, zero, right? Second of all the analysts, as per usual, have their price targets all congregated around the current share price, which again is just makes no sense. They're not looking at the true value of Tesla. They're looking at it as a car company, and they're applying a multiple, and they're just not doing the work, frankly. And they're not willing to look ahead in the future and assign probabilities to, what is the probability that they spin up this new business and they're successful at it? Even if it's only 20%, you should be ascribing some sort of expected value to something that only has a 20% chance of success if it's meaningful enough. So anyway, I won't dwell on this, but I do want you to really understand how I'm doing this and where I'm getting my numbers from. So we're going to work through this really, hopefully slowly. First of all, let's jump over to this quote right here. So Elon has said, Tesla could be worth more than Apple and Saudi Aramco combined. This was in 2022. So the combined value might have been 3 or 4 trillion at the time. Trillion, right? Current value of Tesla, 700 billion, might even be under 700 billion right now. So you can do the math on how many fold higher that is. That's, pretty substantial. So that's a pretty big statement. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put together all the pieces and work through why I think that could be reasonable. But let's go one step at a time here. So the first catalyst for me is AI. I don't think Tesla is being viewed correctly as a leader in AI. And I think that's so important because I've spent so much time researching AI in general, not specifically companies, because I think it's really difficult to get direct AI exposure in your investment portfolio. And I know there's all sorts of things that, ostensibly are sort of like labeled as AI in the investment world. But the reality is they're not tied directly to the rate of advancement that is happening with AI, right? Like, it's not inconceivable that AI could tenfold and then tenfold again in terms of capability within the next few years. But what investment is going to, be able to deliver returns that are, in line with that sort of rapid advancement, technological advancement? Well, few, right? Few. OpenAI, maybe, they're pretty central in all this with ChatGPT, of course. But even OpenAI, first of all, there's no way to invest in it directly as a public investor. And second of all, they actually don't own their own hardware, right? They're actually just paying Microsoft for the compute that they need, which is fine and good. But Tesla literally has its own compute, right? It's building up a massive resource in the form of a supercomputer called Dojo. So Dojo currently at this time has not been confirmed, but it's my belief that it is the 5th most powerful supercomputer at the moment in the world. So that alone is pretty impressive. That's something, right? That's not insignificant. So that works out to about 25 exaflops of compute currently. And at the end of 2024, it's expected to be about 100 exaflops of compute. So they are able to advance AI themselves, using their compute, unlike a lot of their competitors in the humanoid robot space, for example, who are now going to be relying on NVIDIA to provide that robot brain, if you will. So NVIDIA announced this sort of robot platform, the software end of it. And NVIDIA's market cap since then has increased by about 100 billion in pretty short order. So, I'm kind of inferring what value the market is giving to NVIDIA based on AI. We all knew NVIDIA was an AI play to start with. But the robot AI has just added an extra 100 billion to NVIDIA's valuation, in my view. So what is this worth? It's not worth anything right now as far as analysts are concerned. Yet, NVIDIA and OpenAI have pretty substantial values. OpenAI is worth at minimum 100 billion currently, and then NVIDIA, as I say, has just picked up another 100 billion in market cap based on this announcement. So, to me, the Dojo supercomputer and Tesla's ability to leverage this compute and this AI is worth about 75 billion, I think. And that's about $25 in present value share price contribution. So this one's difficult because it's sort of one of the least tangible pieces of Tesla's valuation at the moment. That being said, the other piece of this that is more relevant when Tesla has a major bull run, I would say, is that, if Tesla does start being viewed as an AI play like NVIDIA, well, NVIDIA trades at like 20 to 40 times sales, which is absurd. But Tesla, on the other hand, it's not going to trade that high because it has too many other non-AI components of the business. But currently, I think it's trading at like 6 times sales. So could it trade at 9 times sales? Yeah, absolutely, right? If the market decides to view it differently. So I think that's why this AI catalyst is actually more important rather than the direct, 75 billion of market cap, perhaps, that I'm ascribing here. So moving along, FSD. This is an important one. So Tesla is not being given any meaningful credit for FSD, and it is the best positioned, in my view, to be the future self-driving platform of cars, not just for Teslas, but for any cars that are, capable of driving themselves. Like your ICE truck is not going to self-drive itself, right? So, yeah, as I say, think about Google or specifically with Android, but iOS as well. Those are platforms for your phone, right? So if you're a generic phone maker, you're licensing Google's Android to use on your phone, and you're paying Google for that privilege. And to me, it's the same thing with FSD. If FSD is the dominant self-driving technology, and importantly, if it is the safest self-driving technology, which I believe it is going to be, already Tesla says it's something like 9 times safer than a human driver. I don't know if I buy that, but, let's say it's currently 3 times safer with a human, observing or being engaged despite not driving. Maybe they do get to 9 or 10 or 15 times safer than a human driver eventually once they start applying all that compute. That I think is quite plausible. So if their competitors, let's say Google, comes up with a self-driving platform that they're going to license out to everybody, but it's only 3 times safer than a human driver, well, how much cheaper would that have to be for you to buy Google's self-driving technology when you could buy something that's 15 times safer than a human driver for $20 more a month, let's say? Or let's say they're the same price. Why would you even go with Google's, right? So to me, there's a huge opportunity here if Tesla does win this race. And I think that's why they're so focused on this supercomputer at the moment and getting that compute up, because they're uniquely positioned to be able to solve this, better than anyone else. They've got the data coming in from millions of cars every day, and then they've got the compute to model, to train their models, their neural networks based on what they're seeing essentially. So yeah, Tesla is in a very unique position. And again, even once they solve it, air quotes, they're going to continue to improve it, and they have the compute to do that. So anyway, I think I'm being very conservative here with this piece of the puzzle. I'm saying, let's say in 2030, 7 million cars are using FSD. And that's Teslas and non-Teslas. So, just on the Tesla side, in 2030, they're going to be doing, 10 to 20 million cars annually. Cars. They're going to be doing 20 million cars annually. And, how many of those 10 to 20 million coming off the production line are going to have FSD or want FSD? I would argue most are probably going to want FSD at that point. It's going to be such a mainstay of driving at that point, when people have, been used to it for, let's say, 4 or 5 years at that point, perhaps. So anyway, 7 million probably pretty darn conservative. I'm going with $3,000 a year for it. I think that's reasonable. I mean, they're $200 a month right now, but if they get to full level 4, level 5 self-driving, and it's like 15 times safer than a human driver, I think that's worth more than $200 a month. So anyway, $7 million, $3,000 a year. What are the margins on that? Well, theoretically, once it's developed, it's pretty much like 100% gross margins because there's nothing more to do. Of course, they're going to keep improving it, as I say. So anyway, I've gone with 70% gross margins. So 21 billion in high margin revenue off that 7 million car count. 70% gross margins gives you a 14.7 gross margin times, let's say, a 30 multiple. Gives you 440 billion market cap in 2030. PV that back, call it 220 market cap today. 220 billion of market cap to today's value is what you should be ascribing, and you get a $75 share price contribution today. So now we have $25 from AI, $75 from FSD, and we're moving on to energy. So energy is barely being given any credit at this point in time, and I can tell that because, well, you can see the end result here, but energy as an industry is expected to grow by 15-fold. And when I say energy, I mean specifically the area of energy that Tesla is operating in, which is grid level storage, right? Their Megapack product. And so that industry is expected to grow 15-fold. Currently, Tesla is doing about 16 gigawatt hours a year of annual production out of Fremont or Lathrop. And I've heard they're going to scale that up to 80 gigawatt hours, let's say in the next 12 months or whatever it may be, which makes sense because they put a target out of 1 terawatt hours of grid level storage capacity or production in 2030. And that is even reasonable for two reasons. First of all, Tesla expects that we need about 24 terawatt hours in total. So doing 1 terawatt hour of production annually gives them, at least 24 more years of producing grid storage batteries at that rate. So there's great incentive to scale up to that rate. They've got, as I say, Lathrop going to 80 gigawatt hours a year potentially, it sounds like. And then you've got Shanghai that's come online now with a 40 gigawatt capacity per year. Now that 40 gigawatt capacity works out to about $80 of share price per year, conservatively, again, with a pretty low multiple. So then you go, okay, well, what's 1,000 gigawatt hours or 1 terawatt hour worth in 2030 with the same sort of share price contribution? Well, you get $2,000 a share. You discount that back down to today at 2024, and you're looking at somewhere between 860 billion of current value or 1.1 trillion in my view. Huge numbers. That works out to $280-ish a share at the lower value of 860 billion. So clearly, energy is not part of the model of these analysts that are covering Tesla, or at least not in any meaningful way. To me, this is huge. Elon has said the energy business will be more valuable than our car business, right? So he's telling you this is not too far off base, right? And I put number 1 in there, which was, okay, well, what is Tesla's car business worth in 2030? Well, it's worth, in my view, in 2030, doing 10 to 20 million cars, which is what they project. I come up with about $170 to $220 a share today, which is coincidentally like almost exact price, $208 versus $220 a share, that the market is giving Tesla. So yeah, essentially the market is giving Tesla credit for only its car business at the moment, based on that math right there, when in my view, there should be another $280 of share price PV like today for the energy business. So let's pause it there before I talk your ear off too much here. Give you a break, go get a coffee, come back, and hopefully I'll have the next video up. And that video is going to be number 4, 5, 6, 7, of these different catalysts or different pieces of Tesla's business and what they're each worth. So, adding these up, we've got catalyst number 1, AI. AI, again, was worth about $25 a share there, in my view, currently. Not accounting for, that higher multiple that Tesla's business could get, from it down the road, potentially. But $25 of pretty tangible value. $75 from FSD, as I said. again, I think that's conservative. I think if they become a true platform, how many cars are being produced a year currently, right? Currently, there's 90 million cars coming off the production lines around the world. And I'm saying 7 million cars by 2030 are using FSD. I think that's conservative, very. But, that works out to today being worth $75 a share. And then you add that to the 280, you're up to $380 a share is where I'm standing, with only considering 3 pieces of Tesla's business as it stands. So let's come back, keep adding in the rest of the pieces of the business, and see where we get to. All right, thanks so much, guys. Really appreciate you making it this far in the video. If you do find value in these and these are helpful for you, please like and subscribe. It really helps with the old Google algorithm. Google literally throws me under the bus when people watch 30 seconds of these things, and it's a 17-minute video. So yeah, if you could, please like, subscribe. And don't forget there's the Substack as well, right? So that's where I do normally go into sort of more detail like this. It's also where I post my trades in a much more timely manner because it takes me a while to make these videos. And in fact, as it stands, I have a few trades to get to YouTube that happened a few days ago. So yeah, you can see that stuff there in Substack. Hopefully see you over there, and I will produce another one of these shortly, and we'll go through. There's many more points to hit here. This is just the first 3, so lots more to come. All right, until next time. And of course, as always, please do remember, this is not financial advice. This is just me sharing my process of how I go about analyzing stocks and how I do my own portfolio management. So, okay, cheers, everyone. And in case you're still wondering why Elon is about to send Tesla to the moon, that's going to come at the end of this series. So bear with me. We're getting there. Don't worry.